Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We're on episode 6 of Marvels of Audio. It's the day after Halloween. By the time this episode's out, it'll already be a week into November. But I hope you had many sweet treats and devious tricks. Choo-choo. I was thinking about doing a Halloween-themed-ish episode. I was like, kind of already missed the opportunity to do that. Halloween is my favorite holiday, believe it or not. Just, right up there, tippy top. Favorite holiday. Though I don't ever do anything big. I just like the spirit of it, like the whole mood for 31 days that we get of October, of the spookiness. But, yeah. We will be having a Thanksgiving themed episode, so do look for that. Another thing I want to bring up is, of course, we are going to be having a guest star. I don't have a date yet, but do expect that episode in the future, and such. And, of course, as always, if you're looking to share your music, poetry, and such like that, Cakes Cafe, Wednesday, 7 to 11. I help run an open mic. Downtown, next to the pantry, Galisteo Street, and all that. Here, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, North Guadalupe Street, 222. It's the Remix Audio Bar, open for dinner services from 6 to 10. Ramen bowl, chicken yakitori, onigiri. It's all delicious, especially the ramen bowl. The pork ramen is to die for. But other than that, I don't really have much for announcements this week. We've kind of, feel like as of last episode, we've kind of rooted down into a formula. We've developed the formula. It's a matter of fine tweaking it, I guess you could say. But I with just 6 episodes in, I'm quite proud of how well developed this podcast has become. Of course, there's still a lot to do. There's a long road ahead of us, and such. But like I've always said, one step at a time. One step. All right. What are we talking about today? Here on Marvels of Audio. Today we're going to be talking about maturing, growing up, moving on, such like that. I've never said that phrase before. Such like that. Sorry, that like flashbanged me. But a quote that I heard from a friend when I was talking. I remember I was just talking about my times in when I was working retail, like Sam's Club. I was just complaining about like really much older customers that are just like really mean for like no reason. And she told me along the lines of some people grow old and some people grow up. And I think a lot about that phrase. Like, it's so simple, but it's like it's not like a life-changing quote. It's not going to impact how you wake up every day, eat cereal, whatever, but it helps put things into perspective. It's one of those things that helps you, how would I say, clear your vision about some things when it comes to thinking, evaluating, and all that, and such. And I feel like there's no perfect quote to go over the concept of growing up when, when you're a kid, things can be so blurry, mysterious, you don't know better, and all that, and such. Today's episode is going to be a little different. I'm going to talk about 2-ish albums. I'm going to talk about one album from the same band, Kick the Robot, Music to Fight the Future. And we're going to be going over a little bit from their second album, Radio Static. There's a lot to go over for that band. And I usually talk about comics. But if you remember the first episode, I said I would bring up movies and cartoons and other forms of media. Today we're talking about 2 cartoons. We're going to be talking about Kid Cosmic. It's a 3-season show, but we're only going to be talking about season 1. We'll go over that when we get there. and Steven Universe Future. I'm not going over the main story, Steven Universe. I'm going over the concluding series, Steven Universe Future, which was just a one and done to bring a proper closure to the series with like the lingering plot holes, stuff like that. And, they also had a movie, so they kind of needed a way to end it again. But I'll get into that. Steven Universe by Rebecca Sugar, also a very great musician. We'll talk about her a little bit. She's gonna get her own episode. Don't hold me to that, though. I would like to make a Rebecca Sugar episode, but enough dilly-dallying. Let's get into Kick the Robot. Now, what is Kick the Robot, Dalen? They are, the best way I describe it is an indies blue hook rock band. If you ask me what hook rock is, I cannot describe that to you. My best description would be like more like blues if it was a bit more, how would I say, poppy, if you get what I'm saying. I'll elaborate more when I talk about the second album. But the first album from this band is Music to Fight the Future. Of course, a little bit of introductions for the Kick the Robot. I'm going to be honest. These guys are ghosts. They just showed up in Spotify radio one day. The one song specifically, Gunslinger. It's going to be the first one we talk about. And a lot of stuff popped up. Well, I say a lot of stuff popped up. Only their music popped up. I could barely find any information on the band outside of, the performers and all that. But barely anything about their music and anything else, really. They're kind of very avoidant of the public. The first album came out in 2013, and then Radio Static came out in 2017. And their last appearance ever was the Boat Music Festival on the water, which is literally, music festival on a giant cruise ship. That was in 2018, and anything else I could find was a Twitter post of someone talking about, I want to buy Kick the Robot merch, but there's literally nothing. And they replied to them being like, what kind of merch do you want? And that was in 2019. I could not find anything else on them. Barely. Social medias all kind of went radio silent with the release of their third album after the around the same time of the music festival in 2018, the Boat Music Festival. There is a name for it. It's not the Boat Music Festival. Sorry, I'm not great with names. But it's, how would I say it? Finding a band like this is a huge treasure for me because I'm very much like a puzzle person. It's very nice to find music I can really connect and get attached to. And there's not really like, any just people that did the homework of like, this is what every lyric means. It's all up to me to figure it out. I love finding niche indie bands like that. It's just coming up with my own interpretation of each and every song and the albums as a whole and such. And that's mainly what I'm going to be talking about for their stuff today. Gunslinger. It's their most popular song from the first album. Their most popular song overall is Supermassive Automatic. We're not going to be talking about that song, but I highly recommend it. Very good song. But Gunslinger is a very simple song. It talks about this guy singing a song about a kid growing up who wanted to be a gunslinger as a kid and such. And it's a very simple song of just growing up, learning to be an adult and all that, being a gunslinger, tried and true to your values and such. There's a line in the suit where it's like, that suit and tie didn't just match, it made you into the man you are, essentially. The clothes fit the man. You get what I'm saying here. But it's a pretty shallow song with the message of just, every time growing up, but staying true to who you are, your values. And that's the biggest message I get from the album overall is we encountering different things in your life or events and such, But the most important thing is, no matter what happens, you need to stay true to yourself, is what I've interpreted from this album. In a sense, it's kind of like a memento or reminder left by the band for anyone who listens to that album as a constant message to play in your head, is that no matter what happens, don't lose sight of yourself. Don't give in to nothing. We talked about that last episode. So I felt it appropriate for it to go into talk about Kick the Robot and this album as the next episode and such. And so you see where I'm getting at with the whole advice stuff I was talking about for the past few episodes. But the whole idea is this kid's growing up, becoming a man, becoming an adult, but the singer, in a way, is, helping guide let's say our protagonist, to stay true to his idea of a gunslinger, Wild West gunslinging cowboy, upholding the morals of being a tough guy, but good-hearted slinger, Wild West cowboy, and all that. It's nothing too crazy, really, but I really like the song. It's it's not the first song, but it really sets the idea. It's the second song, I believe, in the album. It sets the idea for the rest of the album and such. The next song I want to talk about is, I have a whole list here. I'm a bit obsessed with this band. I'm not going to go over all these songs as much as I wanted to, but I want to try to keep it within 40 minutes. Last week's episode was 50 minutes. I was so ashamed of that, but I got a little too giddy about it. You even see me jumping around on the camera. And for the audio listeners, you probably hear it in my voice too. But the next one I want to talk about is, what was it? Ones and Threes. I'll be honest. This song has me a little stumped and such. Probably give it up to my lack of media literacy and all that, and just being a little wee. But Ones and Threes, I got a vagueness of, how would I say, nostalgia from it and all that. Kind of like an idea of like living life to the fullest, because there's a lot of lines where it goes, live life like a loaded gun, live life like it's your only one. It's pretty direct. Go at it, bursting through the seams. But what kind of, I think this is where I'm getting off with my idea of the song, which is it's the tone. It's really slow. It's really mellow. It's in a way soothing. Kind of like, how would I say it? Kind of like you're trying to calm a dog down, just and you're petting its head or whatever. That's kind of like the same feeling I got from the song. To me, it feels like the idea of like, someone's freaking out about something about the future and such and all that. It's like, what if I can't do this? What if I can't do that? And then we have our singer just being, calm down. Don't worry. The best you can do is live life to its fullest. The whole saying of, the best anyone can do is give it their best. And you can't be faulted for that. If I had to like put into a phrase that entire song. I feel like I'm not really hitting the nail with the hammer here, though. I feel like it's a little bit more than that. But the main takeaway from that song was it was that. I'm repeating myself here, but don't worry about how you're living your life. Just be proud how you live it, and especially if it's to the fullest and all that. Now you're seeing where we're getting into the whole idea of the advice stuff. I'm going bit by bit from my favorite songs here and all that, and just mainly my interpretations. One more song we're going to go over in this album before we move on to Radio Static Black Magic is without you. And you could probably already go. Sorry about the P's and the S's. My bad. But what you can already garner from this song is it's about a breakup. And it's the singer talking about getting out of a really bad relationship, and instead of letting it get him down in the dumps, getting him feeling blue and such, he does his best to see the positives from it. That's like, oh, I'm not suffocated by this person that didn't really care about me. Kind of only wanted me for what I could do and could provide, and not who I was as a person, and all that. And it's a song I heavily relate to, as I have been in several times in a situation like that, in relationships and stuff or whatever. It's a song that really struck home with me, because a common mindset I would fall into after getting out of those relationships would be, it's my fault. There's something I could have done better. There's something I could have done more. I was the bad guy. And in a lot of cases, I like to think it's always a 50-50. Sorry, I'm tripping on my words here. Really close to home here. But in a lot of breakups, I'm very much of like, it's a 50-50 kind of thing. And not like, oh, you did this wrong, you did that wrong. It's just, it doesn't work out. However, this is in the context of a toxic relationship. You were the victim, and it's coming from the perspective of, I finally got out of this. I'm free. I can be happy. I can be myself. I can appreciate and love myself for who I am. And it's a nice song. It's great. So, if you ever get into a situation like that, I want you to listen to that song specifically, Without You, from Kick the Robot, Music to Fight the Future album. It's music to fight the future. It's to help us, redefine our outlook on life, stay positive, and living life to the fullest, like a loaded gun. Go at it. Ready, trigger on the hand, boom, big and powerful. But now we're going to talk about Radio Static. I think this is an incredible album. I would put it in my top 10. Radio Static Black Magic by Kick the Robot is an incredible album. It's definitely more of a mystic, how would I say, pop, like mainstream pop album. If Music to Fight the Future was them trying to get their roots settled, figure out what genre of music, what they want to put out and stuff, Radio Static was the album to help mainstream it more, to reach a wider audience, essentially. And there's not much I can say on it, really, because it was, their best album. Most of their most popular songs are from that album. But like I said earlier, it's really strange. These guys just disappeared off the face of the earth. Like, there's barely anything I can find on socials other than like a lot of live music performances about them, but I didn't really look much into finding interviews. But anything of social media relevance, they just disappeared. It's kind of interesting. But there are two songs I want to talk about, and maybe a third. Might as well talk about a third. Rules of Three. But the first one I'm going to go over is Give Up and Give In, which I hands down think is the best song of the album. Every time I try to explain the song, I fail miserably, so let's give it a go. Give Up, Give In, from what I can garner, is this gentleman falling in love with a woman. And he goes, I really, really want to fall in love with you, but things have to change. And he goes over the whole idea is, I love how you're willing to give up and give everything for me to help me feel like an incredible person, the most valuable person forever, and just give me such kindness and all that, to the point where it could hurt you. And I want to give the same to you as well. It's a team effort, essentially, how this relationship would work. But he goes into saying that the difference between you and me is you do that for the people you care about. I give everything for the people I do and don't care about, essentially. If you're confused by what I'm saying, is his kindness isn't just limited to, his kindness is unconditional. Hers is conditional, essentially. And he says, I can't be with someone who's not willing to give it their all to essentially do what they can for the people around them, the world around them, make it a better place, is what I got. And it goes over it's kind of like the idea of like a sense of duty or human nature, that I kind of talked a little bit about this in the Scott Pilgrim episode, but I believe it's human nature to be kind, to do the right thing. That's why I'm very much a believer of doing something nice, doing something to help someone. Is you never need a reason. There's no reason to do it. We just want to. We just want to be nice. We want to be kind. I believe it's ingrained into our genetics. And that's kind of the message I got from this song, is that you have to be able to treat everyone like the way you treat me, with that same profound kindness that I've fallen in love with. In a sense of kind of encouraging her to fall in love with the world around her. I talked about this last episode, a bit of an idea of less is more, by giving up your giving in. It's such a weird phrase. It's so hard. It feels like it's one of those paradoxes, you know? You can't really logically explain it, but I hope you get what I'm saying is that by giving up and giving in, she's able to get so much more out of it, essentially. Lovely song. To me, it's more like an anthem, honestly. It's incredible. If you were to listen to any song from this band, Give Up, Give In, please listen to that one. Whenever You're Blue. It's another song from Radio Static. And kind of like Gunslinger, it's a very surface level song. It's nothing complicated. It's a song that goes over. It's like whenever you're feeling down, just, you know, remember or do things that make you happy. You know, it's like there's nothing but time wasted by staying gloomy, negative. Not the whole idea of like, you know, don't mourn, you know, grief, mourning, I say, is completely different from sadness. I think sadness is different from depression. You know, these are things that like actually affect you and such, but being sad or being in a negative outlook and such is something that can easily and quickly change. As I always talk about, it's a perspective thing, you know? It's very important to fix your eyes on what you want. Same thing with your head, you know? Think about the things that are going to help you and such. These two albums go over a lot of music that kind of, I would say, have helped me mature in my still ongoing young adult life. I kind of found these guys during the pandemic, right out of high school, when, you know, back when I was 19 and 20, I thought I knew everything. I thought I was a genius. I thought I had it figured out. It's like, it's only up from here. Nope. Turning 21, I look back at 19-year-old me, I was like, man, I was so dumb. I was so naive. I can't believe I thought like that. 21, I'm 23 now. I'm looking back at 21-year-old me thinking the same things. I was like, I can't believe how inexperienced, naive, and all that. And I'll probably say the same thing when I turned 25. But I think the idea is as you grow up, you learn that there's still more to get at, you know? It's a very long road, very very long road. We're going to talk about that next episode. I'll get to that in a second. Well, a second at the end of the episode. Sorry, sniffles. But so I've talked about growing up, growing old, moving on, and such. What does this have to do with any of that? I talked about this stuff as a way to kind of give more about me as a person and kind of put what I'm talking about in the next two cartoons into perspective, essentially. Ooh. I really need to look into allergy meds. But Kid Cosmic and Rebecca Sugar. Sorry. Kid Cosmic and Steven Universe. Craig McCracken and Rebecca Sugar. What do these two shows relate to each other and how do they work? Where Kid Cosmic is a show about growing up. Steven Universe Future, not Steven Universe. Future. Moving on, I'm just going to call it Steven Future. It's mainly about moving on. And I feel like these are the two most important things of, maturing, growing up as you go on with your life. Going from a kid to adult, adult to older adult, and to old person, senior. There's a realization and letting go, you know? So, Kid Cosmic by Craig McCracken. If you're familiar with that name, he's also worked on Wander Over Yonder for Disney Channel. One of my favorite shows. Very, very cute little show. Kid Cosmic is a Netflix series. It's 3 seasons running. We're only going to be talking about season 1. The reason I'm only talking about season 1 is because every season goes over a different protagonist. It follows the same storyline with the same characters, but it's each season's from a different perspective, from a different character of the cast. And we're going to be going over season 1 of the main character, the Kid, or Kid Cosmic. That's his name. And to give a little background, it's a kid that lives in the middle of nowhere, New Mexico Oasis. I did not mispronounce that. It is the town they are in is Oasis. It's a literal single street, single road, truck stop, houses, junkyard, stuff like that. Middle of nowhere kind of town. And we follow the story of a 10-year-old super obsessed with superheroes. It's all he does. Talks about. It's what he's doing every day. Everyone in the town hates him or just finds him annoying because, he's going around causing trouble with his little antics of being a superhero, trying to save the day, makes things worse. Until one day, asteroid comes down, hits a random spot in the middle of nowhere. I don't know how to explain it to you. It's literally the middle of nowhere, big old desert. And there's these little rocks that come from it. And these little rocks give him superpowers. And one of these rocks gives him the power of flight. And through that, he has to find the other rocks with the people in the town. And they all, become superheroes to defend the town from aliens that are coming to get these rocks. Very simple story and such. However, that's not the main focus of the story. The focus of the story is every individual character that it follows every season. Season 1, of course, being about the Kid. Kid, and I'm about to go into spoilers here, but Kid lost his parents at a very, very early age. And that's like a lot saying for a 10-year-old, an early age. I think it was around 6 years ago it is canonically. It's been a while since I watched the first season, honestly. So I don't remember all the minute details. But Kid lost his parents in an awful accident and is raised by his Grandpa G. A very sweet, down-to-earth guy, and is always constantly encouraging Kid to win with kindness. not with violence, not with fighting, but with understanding and kindness and such. And you kind of come to realize that as the story plays out and all that, uh, Kid has his dream come true of becoming a superhero to fight aliens, and he realizes that he's living his dream, but it's not helping him cope with grief, with losing his parents and all that. He's saving the town, he's being a superhero, but he realizes that it's not solving how he's feeling and such. And with this, he learns that doing this whole superhero stuff is actually, doing the same thing as he was before. It's making things worse and stuff by fighting these aliens. It comes down to this conclusion of these aliens that you're fighting, they need these rocks, actually. It's a matter of mass extinction. And every episode, he, slowly realizes more and more of just having to come to terms with losing his parents, and that the family he has now is the ones that are with him, helping him realize this and all that. To the point where at the end of the series, he gives up the powers to stop the invasions, give it to the aliens so that they can go save their planets with the powers of those special rocks, and essentially. And it's a really cute series. Absolutely love it. Because you get handheld in a way through watching this character that you're supposed to not like, dislike, find annoying, and watch him grow up. That's the whole idea of the first season. To grow up, realize it's like, hey, now's not the time to be a kid. It's the time to be a hero. And sometimes being a hero isn't cool. It isn't flashy. There's no fighting. There's no standing up to a big guy. It's just something simple as being kind and doing the right thing. Just like his grandpa told him. And that's the whole basis for season 1. If anything, that's the whole basis for Craig McCracken's series, Wander Over Yonder. Not going to talk too much on this. But it's this wandering dude traveling the galaxy, and every episode he's like, a stranger you haven't... Every stranger is a friend you haven't made. Craig McCracken, if I describe him, he's a very kind-hearted soul. That's what he wants to express through all of his works and such, but putting it in a different form of theme. Wander Over Yonder is the whole idea of seeing the best in everyone and such, while Kid Cosmic is supposed to be going over the idea that kindness can help you overcome anything. Grief, depression, loss. And in a way, by using that to help yourself, you can help exponentially so many more people around you in your life, to the point where it's inspiring. Steven Universe Future. I'm about to say spoilers, but this is after the movie and the main series, the conclusion of Steven Universe. Steven saves the world, saves the diamonds, the gems, all that. The main conflict's over. Here we arrive at Future. Steven is a teenager now. And he's still stuck in the whole mindset of, I'm a hero, I gotta help people and stuff. He's, I believe, 16 when this takes place. In the main series, he's 12. He's a kid going into these life-threatening battles, getting severely injured, and stuff like that. That's what he grew up doing, essentially. It's kind of weird. And what I really like about Future is it brings a close to a lot of plot lines that were left open in the conclusion of the main series, which was my biggest gripe of Steven Universe. I didn't like how the main protagonist was a kid as a kid. He felt like a static character and, immature, like a kid. But I didn't really feel the growth or the repercussions of putting a 10-year-old in the position of having to save the entire universe. Future goes over that. The trauma of having to fight all these people, uh, never getting the forgiveness or apology he deserved from these overlords that essentially slaved his race of people, of the gems, tried to destroy planet Earth and all that, bring mass extinction to life and such. And peace has been established at this point, so Steven, being 16, is trying to figure out what to do with his life. And he kind of goes over an identity crisis and starts freaking out of like, I have nothing left to do in the future. So he gets into this weird thing of trying to cause problems, no matter how minute or how big, and solves them, essentially. He just feels like his existence isn't there. He's not a person. He's not living. He's not alive. If he's not solving things, essentially, he can't be himself. And it's ultimately a story of learning how to be independent. But the whole idea is, moving on from things. There's the climax where, he does so much stuff. He's causing so many problems that it's hurting him. It's hurting the people around him and all that, to the point where it's almost causing chaos. And he has a moment where he snaps. Just, how would I say it? It's really weird to describe if you haven't seen it. But he snaps, breaks in, goes, I'm a monster. And then his powers cause him to turn into a giant Godzilla. But, it's very obvious it's supposed to be a physical representation of how he truly saw himself. And he comes to the point where he comes to accept it, and that's what he becomes. He thinks he's a monster. He thinks he's causing more harm than good. He thinks he's no good. And he becomes one. Of course, kids' cartoon, it's going to be an action part or whatever. But ultimately, it comes down to his friends come together, be like, they take care of the problem. It's very simple. It's a kid's cartoon. They fight the monsters. It's like, Steven, we love you. You're great. And all that. And then it just comes to the conclusion where Steven, how would I say it? It's supposed to be a message of reaching out to people when you don't know what to do. Rather than trying to force yourself into people's lives, you got to be able to let people into your life. And I kind of like that. Because usually that's the best way to move on from something. Because usually moving on, it's either you acknowledging that there needs to be change, or it's the flow of change forcing you out of something. And that's where this story takes place. It's the flow of change inevitably taking its course and forcing Steven out of his old life from his childhood. But he keeps forcing himself back into that and refuses to let anyone in because he's the hero. He's got to be the guy that solves everything. So he refuses help from his friends until he snaps, becomes a monster, and finally accepts the help of his friends. And then through that, he feels a lot better. He still has no idea what he's going to do, but he knows how to move forward, and he knows how to move on. And it's thanks to his friends and family helping with that. Come to that conclusion, that idea. And that right there is what kind of really sealed the deal for Steven Universe as a franchise for me. Now, I liked the main running series. I thought it was great. I had a lot of, just things I didn't like, plot holes that stuck out to me that I didn't like. And then Future comes out and closes all those plot holes, and I'm like, oh, this is perfect. This is great. This is an amazing conclusion. There's the movie, but the movie's just a gateway into the finale, essentially. But another thing about Steven Universe is unrelated, but the music in it is great. Most of it is written by Rebecca Sugar herself. She also has her own music, not in any of her shows, on a Spotify. She has her own Spotify. It's very cute music. I'm not going to talk about it. Saving that for another episode. Whew. Sorry. But that's part of growing up. There's the inevitable coming of change. And there's, the constant, which is growing up. Every day we're getting a little older, day by day, step by step. That's what I like about these two shows a lot. They couldn't have come out at a better time, in a time where I was going from being a kid, a teenager, to entering the adult life. Especially the same thing with Kick the Robot. Coming out of high school into a pandemic, lockdown, I don't know what the hell to do. I don't feel so good about it. And there's all this stuff telling me, don't worry about it. You're not going to figure it out, but just do the best you can. And I feel like that's going to be a constant when I go into my 30s, my 40s, and so on. I'm still going to be figuring things out. And like I said, when I turn 25, I'm going to look back on probably today and be like, man, I was so naive and dumb and tunnel visioned and all that. Kind of funny to think about. But, yeah. Getting to the end here, I want to make a recommendation on the theme of growing up. And since it's the day after Halloween, last episode, I technically recommended 2 albums, so I think it's only fair I recommend 2 comics here. One of them's finished. It's by Boardman. Apocalyptic Horseplay. It follows the story of basically a news journalist and her day-to-day life antics with the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And then there's Humor Me, which essentially follows this high school, college student having to take care of her baby brother, and with her parents absent in her life. Forgive me, at the time, I have forgotten the author's name of Humor Me, and I'm very ashamed and embarrassed by that. But the links will be in the description. As for next week's episode, I'm going to go ahead and leave a trigger warning here. Because I've been kind of building up to this episode with this one, the last one, and such. But next week's episode is going to be about depression, loss, suicide. So if that's not something you're comfortable hearing about and such, I want to warn that right now. It's going to be a much deeper and heavier episode and such. So I do want to give that warning. But before I go any further, I want to give some personal thanks to no one in particular, but Kick the Robot. If somehow this gets out to any of the band members or fellow Kick the Robot fans, this is some of the most impactful and life-changing music I've ever listened to. Thank you for, creating. Creation leads to connections, inspirations. We had a whole episode about this. But thank you for your music. Craig McCracken, thank you for your creations, because they taught me a lot about kindness. And Rebecca Sugar, thank you for just putting your ideas and such out into the world. Steven Universe, it's a very progressive show. It shows that every life is valuable and deserves to live it to its fullest, no matter who you are. It's a very precious thing. So, that's all I have to say. And just remember that, of course, we're going to have days where we're not feeling so good. But as long as you're doing the best you can, that's the best you can do. And no one can fault you for that. And this is Marvels of Audio signing out. I'll see you guys next week.